Maura Murray was born on May 4, 1982, in Hanson, Massachusetts. She was the fourth child of Fred and Lori Murray. When she was only 6 years old, her parents separated, and she lived with her mother. People who knew Maura described her as warm, friendly, and someone whose bright smile and dimples made her unforgettable. She was also known for being hardworking and determined, excelling in both school and sports. At Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, Maura shined as a standout athlete. She ran track, played basketball, and swam competitively. Her achievements in academics matched her athletic talent, earning her a spot in the National Honor Society. After graduation, she secured admission to the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point, where she studied chemical engineering. But after 3 semesters, she decided to leave and transfer to the University of Massachusetts Amherst to study nursing. The exact reason for the switch is still unclear, but it became the next chapter of her life. Although Maura was gifted, she wasn't without struggles. While at West Point, she was caught shoplifting from a store at Fort Knox. The store didn't press charges, allowing her to move forward. Unfortunately, she made another poor decision later. In late 2003, she was charged for using a stolen credit card to buy food from local restaurants. The charge was minor and could be dismissed if she stayed out of trouble for 3 months. It was a second chance that seemed to give her room to correct her mistakes. Then, in early February 2004, a series of unusual events began unfolding. On February 5th, while working at her campus security job, Maura received a call from her sister Kathleen, who shared struggles with alcohol and a rocky relationship. The conversation deeply upset Maura. Soon after, her supervisor noticed her crying at her desk, but she offered little explanation. When escorted back to her dorm later that night, the only words she whispered were, "My sister." The next day, she appeared calmer, but the emotional toll was evident. That weekend, on February 7th, Maura's father visited Amherst. Together, they went car shopping and later had dinner with a friend. Afterward, she borrowed his Toyota Corolla to attend a dorm party. In the early hours of February 8th, while driving back, she lost control and crashed into a guardrail. The damage to her father's car was costly, but Maura wasn't injured. Police helped her return to the motel, where she stayed until morning. The next night, her father called to remind her about insurance paperwork. That was the last normal conversation he had with his daughter. On February 9th, Maura sent an email to her nursing school supervisor, saying she would be away for a week due to a family death. Strangely, there was no such loss in her family at that time. She also phoned her boyfriend and left him a message. Then she packed her black Saturn sedan with personal belongings. Some items, including her credit cards and phone, she kept with her. Around 4:30 p.m., she left campus without telling anyone where she was going. By 7 p.m., along Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire, her car skidded into a snowbank. The accident wasn't serious, but it drew attention. A local woman heard the crash and called authorities. A nearby bus driver also stopped to check on her. He offered help, but she refused and pleaded with him not to call the police. Despite her request, he reported the crash after returning home. When officers arrived around 7:46 p.m., they found the Saturn abandoned. Maura was gone. The car showed heavy damage on the driver's side, a broken headlight, and a cracked windshield. Both airbags had deployed. The vehicle was locked, so police forced entry. Inside, they discovered red stains resembling wine, an empty alcohol box, maps with printed directions to Burlington, Vermont, and various personal belongings. Oddly, her debit card, cell phone, and credit cards were missing. The discovery left investigators with more questions than answers. Why would she vanish right after the accident? Did she run away, or was she taken? Some suggested she planned to escape her life, pointing to the directions she had searched on her computer earlier that day for destinations in Vermont and the Berkshires. Others believed foul play was involved. Despite numerous searches, no trace of Maura has ever been found. Volunteers, dogs, helicopters, and law enforcement combed the area for days, but the trail ended near the crash site. Her family has never stopped searching, holding on to hope for answers. Over time, theories have ranged from voluntary disappearance to tragic accident or even abduction. Yet 2 decades later, Maura Murray's fate remains one of America's most haunting mysteries. Her story is a painful reminder of how a promising life can suddenly take a dark turn. A young woman with talent, ambition, and a future ahead walked away from her car one cold night and never returned. To this day, people still ask, what really happened to Maura Murray? The strange final hours of Maura Murray. On the afternoon of February 9, 2004, Maura Murray's actions became increasingly puzzling. At 1 p.m., she emailed her boyfriend, "I love you more, stud. I got your messages. But honestly, I didn't feel like talking too much to anyone. I promised to call you today though. Love you, Maura." Minutes later, she phoned a condominium association in Bartlett, New Hampshire, asking about availability. This was a place her family had visited on vacation before. The owner declined to rent the unit. At 1:24 p.m., she emailed a supervisor at her nursing program, explaining she would be away for a week due to a death in the family. Yet, her relatives later confirmed no one had passed away. At 2:05 p.m., she called about booking lodging in Stowe, Vermont. By 2:18 p.m., she left her boyfriend a voicemail, assuring him she would talk to him later. By 3:30 p.m., she drove away from the university. Later, police searches of her dorm room revealed her belongings had been neatly packed into boxes and decorations removed from the walls. Investigators believed she prepared them the day before. At 3:40 p.m., she withdrew $280 from an ATM, nearly all the money she had. Then she visited a nearby liquor store and spent about $40 on alcohol. Surveillance cameras confirmed she was alone at both stops. Afterward, she headed north on Interstate 91. Hours later, she would vanish. Despite growing theories that she left voluntarily, law enforcement pushed forward with their search. The following day, February 10th, at 12:36 p.m., a "Be on the lookout" notice was issued. The report described her wearing a dark jacket, jeans, and carrying a black backpack. Authorities believed she might have been unstable or even suicidal. They also began monitoring her bank cards and phone records, assuming she would eventually need to use them. But none were ever touched again. On February 11th, her father provided police with one of her gloves so dogs could track her scent. One canine followed the trail east of the crash site for about 100 yards before losing it completely. This fueled speculation that she may have entered another vehicle. That same day, her boyfriend traveled from Oklahoma to New Hampshire to assist. Police interviewed him at length, as his relationship with Maura seemed strained. In her room, they found a printed email suggesting tension between the two. Investigators also noted that she had packed birth control pills, leading some to think she might have intended to meet him. Yet he had been in Oklahoma at the time, making it impossible for him to be directly involved. The initial days of searching pointed toward Vermont as her likely destination. Detectives interviewed everyone she had contacted there, but no one had seen her. Her family grew increasingly worried. They knew if she only needed space, she would have called eventually. A strange moment came when her boyfriend reported receiving a voicemail from an unknown number. The message sounded like Maura crying. However, when traced, it came from a Red Cross calling line, giving investigators no real lead. After 10 days of intensive searching, the situation became even more baffling. Maura seemed to have vanished without a trace. Posters went up across the region, but tips led nowhere. The case attracted the attention of the FBI, who joined local and state police. Her parents, siblings, and boyfriend were questioned repeatedly, yet no breakthrough came. The police chief of Haverhill announced a nationwide search, determined not to let the case fade. Volunteers from across the country joined efforts. Helicopters circled overhead, dogs combed the forests, and drones scanned remote areas. Still, no sign of Maura appeared. During one of these searches, her older sister stumbled upon a pair of ripped white women's underwear on a hidden trail near French Pond Road. The discovery caused immediate alarm. The item was sent for forensic testing, while searchers combed the area for additional evidence. Nothing else turned up. Weeks later, the lab confirmed the underwear did not belong to Maura. As days stretched into weeks, the mystery deepened. It was as though Maura had stepped out of her car and simply disappeared from existence. Every clue only led to another dead end. Then, in March 2004, just 1 month after her disappearance, another young woman named Brianna Maitland went missing in Montgomery, Vermont, under equally mysterious circumstances. The similarities between the two cases would later spark endless debate, with some wondering if the two vanishings were somehow connected. Nearly 2 decades later, the truth about Maura Murray's fate remains hidden. The unanswered questions from those last known hours, her strange emails, the ATM withdrawal, the liquor purchase, the packed boxes, continue to haunt investigators, her family, and countless people who still follow her case. Maura Murray's disappearance left behind more questions than answers, and her story only grew stranger when it began to mirror another missing persons case. A young woman named Brianna vanished under circumstances that seemed eerily alike. People quickly started whispering about a serial predator haunting the region, claiming the two disappearances were somehow linked. The Haverhill Police Department, already responsible for investigating Maura's case, decided to examine Brianna's as well. Yet after digging through details, officials concluded that the two incidents had no direct connection. That announcement closed one possible lead, and by the end of 2004, investigators were back at the starting line. It was during one of those stagnant months that a man approached Fred Murray, Maura's father, with a disturbing piece of information. He carried with him a stained, rusted knife. The man explained that the weapon belonged to his own brother, a troubled individual with a criminal history who lived less than a mile from where Maura's abandoned vehicle had been discovered. He went further, alleging that the knife had been used to kill Maura, pointing to his brother's suspicious behavior alongside his girlfriend in the days following her disappearance. Fred Murray, however, was not convinced. He pushed investigators to follow through, believing there might be truth hidden within the bizarre claim. Yet officials refused. Frustrated, Fred filed lawsuits in late 2005 against several law enforcement agencies. His goal was simple: to gain access to the files on Maura's case. He believed that many leads had been ignored and that this negligence was the reason his daughter remained missing. In 2006, with official channels at a standstill, a new effort began. The New Hampshire League of Investigators, a team of 10 retired officers and detectives, volunteered to re-examine every aspect of the case. Unlike active law enforcement, they had nothing to lose. This group openly suggested what many feared silently: that Maura was no longer alive. Once that possibility was spoken aloud, the search intensified. Time moved on, yet the mystery refused to fade. 10 years passed, and Maura was still missing. Her family's determination never weakened, though every passing year deepened their pain. In February 2019, Fred Murray learned that the house where cadaver dogs had once reacted had changed ownership. Seizing the opportunity, he convinced the new owners to permit a thorough search. This time, law enforcement arrived with advanced tools, ground-penetrating radar, canines, and a team of specialists. They cut into the basement floor, dug several feet beneath, and explored disturbed soil. In the end, they found nothing beyond old debris. Just 2 months later, in April 2019, another revelation surfaced. But this time it wasn't about Maura directly. Her former boyfriend, Billy Rausch, who had been in the Army at the time of her disappearance, faced criminal charges for a separate incident. A woman named Kate Patterson, accused him of sexual assault from an encounter in 2011. She described being lured into his office under the pretense of a work discussion, only for him to attempt to overpower her. She escaped when a colleague interrupted. Though she reported it at the time, her complaint was dismissed years later after seeing his name tied to Maura's case online to come forward again. Meanwhile, official efforts to keep Maura's case alive continued. In January 2022, the FBI issued a nationwide alert, creating a violent criminal apprehension program profile for her. This database allowed different law enforcement agencies to share and compare information, keeping the investigation active. By July that same year, search teams were still combing nearby towns, determined not to let her memory fade into silence. Now, nearly 20 years after that cold February night in 2004, the questions remain unanswered. Did Maura intentionally vanish, seeking a new life somewhere else? Or was she a victim, taken while searching for safety after her crash might still bring her home? What do you think really happened to Maura Murray? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime mysteries.